So this is second part of sketching Wanda Maximoff, and for the second part our main goal and main focus will be on the hairs of Wanda. So let's just start this tutorial. But before we start this tutorial, if you want to buy the tools that I'm using for this particular tutorial, you can find out the links in the description box. You can go and check out, and if you like those tools, you can buy them also. And if you want to see the real-time sketch, it will be uploaded tomorrow on my second channel, Shwet Sketches 2.0. You will see how I have applied pressure on every part, how I have made this complete sketch in real time, 6 or 8 hour sketch. You can check out Shwet Sketches 2.0, and the channel link will be on the description box. And let's just start this tutorial. The main difference between charcoal pencils and graphite pencils is that charcoal pencils give you more and more good texture and more darker values, and if hairs are darker or black in color, I always recommend that use charcoal pencils. But if hairs are blonde, brown, golden, whatever, more lighter type as the Wanda's hairs are, I always recommend that go for a graphite pencils, because graphite pencil is the best thing you can make, because graphite pencils have so many shades. Like they have a lighter shades like H pencil, and the darkest shades like 10B pencil, 12B pencils, and this is the basic way to sketch any type of portraits. And to make a lighter hairs like Wanda's hairs are, there is just so much of tougher things, like you don't have more and more highlighter and more pencil grades you should use to make those type of hairs. But if you can focus on the right hand side part of the hairs where light is directly coming, there are three type of shades. I'm talking about every hairs that you see, like left hand side part of the hairs and right hand side part of the hairs. So right hand side part of the hairs are more lighter as light is directly coming on those parts, right? So upper part of the hairs are a little bit more exposed to light. So to make those parts, you should consider using a mechanical pencil which is 0.3 mm, and you shouldn't apply pressure. And if you can focus on other parts of the hairs also, there are parts which are a little bit more darker, or you can say black in color, but those parts are not black. The reason behind those parts look more darker is that there is a shadow of hairs. Other part of the hairs are making shadow on those parts, and that is the reason some part of the hairs look black. And I have seen so many people make those mistakes that they first of all make the darker parts and then go for lighter parts, but this is the worst way to just ruin your sketch. So I will recommend that use 0.3 mm mechanical pencil and make hairs as much as hairs you can. Just don't apply pressure. Like if the direction of hairs is going upwards, like the upper part of the hairs above the tidum, the hairs are going upwards, like right hand side part of the hairs are going a little bit more lighter and in the downside part. So you should also see the direction of hairs also. And after making those base layer using mechanical pencil, I am talking about both type of hairs, like left hand side part of the hairs and right hand side part of the hairs. If your hairs are completed using a base layer using 0.3 mm mechanical pencil, now again you should use a not mechanical pencil, you should use a makeup brush or paint brush and just blend those hairs. Yes, you have heard that right, use makeup brush to blend them. I'm not going to tell you that use a blending stump, because blending stump will just make hairs look flat and hairs are too smaller and too much detail, right? And if you are going to use a makeup brush, that will look a little bit more lighter and it will look more beautiful. So focus on this type of basic details. And after blending using makeup brush or paint brush, now you should use a mono eraser. As if you can focus on right hand side part of the hairs, upper part of the hairs a little bit more lighter. So to make those parts a little bit more lighter, use mono eraser and create those smaller to smaller highlights. I am recommending you that use mono eraser too easily and not easily, too wisely in a parts which are more lighter, because while using a mono eraser you will create the hairs look little bit more flat or more bigger, and hairs are not big they are in 0.mm, not 0.mm, more or less in size of the hairs. So while using a mono eraser, you should focus where you are going to use the mono erasers to make those highlights or whiter colors. Now to make the darker part of the hairs, which are looking a little bit more darker and black in color, you should use a 3B pencil, and again you should blend those 3B pencil hairs like black hairs with other part of hairs also. Like those parts shouldn't look like they are not part of the hairs. You should use in the direction of hairs, like the darker part. If you can focus on left hand side part where the neck is there, and left hand side part darker, more darker hairs are. So for those parts you should use a pencil in a direction of hairs so that it doesn't look like different from other hairs. So this is the way to make this part of the hairs. And after making finally this complete hairs, again use more and more, I can say, cleaned makeup brush on the parts of the hairs. Cleaned in the sense it shouldn't be used or you have just cleaned those parts, those mechanical parts, then again use it on other parts and blend them. Then finally, if you see some part whiter, some part lighter, you can use mono eraser in different ways. Now we are going to focus on the skin texture of Wanda. So of course the skin texture is not having too much of detailed, as the Doctor Strange photo that we have used previously was a 4K and Ultra HD photo where so many smaller to smaller details were visible. But for this particular portrait of Wanda, I have not seen so many details. While I was zooming, it was looking just flat, and the skin tone of Wanda is lighter as compared to so much of more and more lighter. And to make lighter hairs visible, it is more tougher challenge to make those whiter skin tones. You don't have to use 3B or 4B pencil because those are darker parts, right? So you have to keep on focusing on this type of smaller to smaller details. We are going to discuss mainly on skin tone on the part 3 and remaining part, but let's just talk about the eyes. First of all, to make those eyes of Wanda, just make outlines first using mechanical pencil. You can apply layer bit pressure so that you can see the outlines. Then again use a 3B pencil for the darker parts. I am not telling you to make eyelashes at right now. We will make eyelashes in the end, and then this is how you should make eyes in a smaller to smaller way. Just upgrade your pencils, like the center part of the pupil is little bit more darker, so you should use the 3B pencil on those parts, and upper part of the eye is little bit more darker, use 4B pencil, and this is how your eyes will be done. And finally use a 8B pencil for the eyelashes of the eyes. So this is how eyes will be done, and we are going to focus on different part of the faces on part 3, which will be uploaded tomorrow. So till then, I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye, see you. So if you have learned something from this video, subscribe and drop a like, and comment down your question and queries regarding this tutorial. Meanwhile, take care of your loved ones too. Have an artistic day. Tattoos.